everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Media Picker. My name is Brandon, part-time eBay Macquarie reseller. Channel is about reselling media online for a profit. Doing a different type of video for you today. I'm going to start doing these every so often also, kind of mix them in. I think it provides good knowledge on kind of the CDs to look for and types of CDs to look for that have sold for we're talking big money. I mean, pulled some smaller ones in there. And there's common stuff. And maybe I'll do it with more common stuff that kind of in the medium range. You get the idea. I'll probably do it for DVDs, Blu-rays, cassette tapes, so on and so forth. But I've probably got 12 or 13 of these I just kind of pulled up. Kind of go through them. Now, these are ones that I've sold recently in the last 3 months, looking at eBay solds. But there's a pattern here with some of the stuff. And I'll explain some of it, why it's rare, or at least from what I know why it's rare, as we kind of go through these. So let's go ahead and share my screen, but these CDs do sell for big bucks. So keep your eyes out for stuff like this. So we're going to start with obscure rap here. Deep for Life, One Foot in the Grave. Never heard of it. If you have a pretty good general idea of music and it's something you've never heard of, or it's a record label you've never heard of or seen, definitely try and look it up. Now, if there's nothing on eBay, that could be a really, really good sign. I've had that happen to me with a rare hip hop CD that I did not even know. I mean, I knew it was worth something. I paid $1 for it and sold it for $300 in like a half hour after me listing it. So I probably underpriced it, but there is money in old hip hop. So this is one example. I'll kind of zoom in on the screen and get a better idea of what it looks like here. But I mean, you're talking like the reason why stuff like this is rare because there's probably so few and far to find. Like, for example, like Jay-Z, he's probably got a couple things that might have held some value or some rare limited edition stuff, but he sold millions of copies of most of his common stuff. That's why it's not worth it. He thinks everybody already has it. This stuff, not very many people have this at all. But this actually looks like it was, I don't see a record label on here at all, so it could be self-released, which is even, excuse me, even adds to the value. Nope, Crisscross Records, or Crossroad Records, right there in the lower corner here. But again, just a run-of-the-mill, just hip-hop CD, sold for $175. So as you can see, there's tons of value and stuff like this. This one, we're going to move to a different genre. I've heard of this band, and yes, I know stuff like this is rare. I do have some rare stuff in this genre because, just for example, it's just obscure. It's not as popular. It's not as widely known about. A lot of people have never even heard of this genre or subgenre. It's called death metal. But because they don't print as much and it doesn't sell as much, it makes them more rare, even just for kind of almost semi-regular releases from certain bands, because there's not a lot out there. So you're looking at scarcity in a lot of these cases. That's pretty much what most of these are going to be from. But again, just your regular run-of-the-mill death metal cover artwork, nothing spectacular, but made in England, so it's UK import. But that's it, just death metal, and you can see an auction, $152.50 sold for. And yes, these did sell. I'm recording this in mid-January, so this is within the last 90 days from there, just so you guys are aware. What's next? Soundtracks also can be rare. Let me do this again. There we go. Fright Night, original motion picture soundtrack. One would think that this wouldn't have a ton of value. Guess it is. Sometimes it can be, depending on the type of release. If it was re-released on a record label that had a limited print run, that also can increase this scarcity. I click on that. Oh, I didn't. Okay. But I mean, look at the soundtrack. You can probably get a lot of these songs. Autograph, Jake Giles bands. I have a lot of these bands in my personal collection. A lot of stuff I've never heard of either, but yeah, just soundtrack, 2016 release. As you can see, obviously has great value for sold. So I'll definitely look for obscure soundtracks, stuff like that. Yes, even Taylor Swift has rare stuff. So that was a few times I was kind of going through it. Now, when I was going through these, I obviously box sets and stuff like that's gonna be worth a ton of money. And so I was skipping over those. I was skipping over the stuff that was autographed too, because I'm like, obviously it's gonna sell a lot of stuff depending on the artist and the release and sign down or whatever can also be a ton of money. I was looking just for regular CD releases, used, maybe some new, kind of mix them in, show you the types of genres that kind of sell. Taylor Swift right here. It's an EP, Beautiful Eyes 2008, CD, DVD. Look again, this is used condition. $130. I was looking at some of these earlier. They were 100, around 100 or 100 and up for these. So come across this out in the wild, definitely pick it up. And something you might come out across in the wild. It may be dumped at a thrift store or something, and no one knows it's worth. It's Taylor Swift. They think there's a million of them out there. It's not worth anything. Well, obviously this one is. So there are some rare stuff of hers too. Uh, Spanish CDs. You can't skip over that stuff either. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce this, but Spanish CDs obviously hold good value too. This one sold for $102.50 on an auction, 3 bids. I've sold Spanish CDs. One in particular I picked up. I don't remember the name of the artist, but I picked up a lot of CDs for $20. It was all like Spanish CDs. Probably should have asked if they smoke or if it was a smoke-free home because they reeked of smoke. So I used a couple tricks that I know, like a laundry sheet, put it in with the stuff, and then put it in this plastic bag and seal it for a couple days. Kind of gets away some of the odor. Sometimes it just goes away over time too, but they reek. I had to throw a lot of it out, but I kept one of them and a few others. But the one of the ones I kept sold for $100. So I mean, again, this is 102.50 right here. So you definitely want to look at Spanish CDs also. Don't overlook them. Then you also kind of want to look at like one-off and side projects for major bands too. Going into this one, Chai Chang, the Bamboo Parachute CD. This is the bassist from the Deftones, which was like an alt metal band. $100, and that's in good condition. So that's not even very good. Very good to be higher, obviously, like new. Sealed, you're probably talking double the price. But obviously, this is gonna command some money too. I've never seen this before in person, so obviously it's pretty rare. Not just based on that, but you get the idea. But so side projects of certain band members and stuff like that can also go for quite a bit because they were probably released on a huge print run either. So look out for that. This is now the next one here is one I'm actually still looking for at a decent price in my collection. And let me show you what that is. This is Rat. This is the hair metal band Rat. This is their self-titled EP. I'm not sure. This is a 91 issue. It might be a reissue here. This came out before 91 though, but anyway. This is one I am still dying to get in my collection. And I think most of these songs are actually already on other album releases also. It's not like you can't make your own kind of compilation of this, but again, a lot of people are old school. I'm a member of a Facebook group that has many Facebook groups that have thousands and thousands of collectors that show off their collections and they prefer a physical copy. Plus, streaming, you may buy it, you don't own it if it's like iTunes or stuff like that. Or anyway, I can go on and on, but I prefer physical copy. I know there's still means people that still do. That's why vinyl is huge again, and CDs are actually making a slight comeback also. But this is definitely one I want to get in my collection. If you come across it in the wild, pick it up. It's good 80 to $100 CD roughly. Might be a little bit less in lesser condition. I'm looking for one. If I can find one very good for about 50 or 60, I might jump on it, but haven't found one yet. I think I've got 5 or 6 more to show you, maybe 7. This is another one. This one kind of surprised me a little bit. It could be a one-off of why it sold for this much, but here I'll show you. Okay, so this is obviously sold millions of copies as it is. It's AC/DC Back in Black. Who does not know this album that has listened to rock music once in their life? Everybody's heard of AC/DC. Everybody's heard of this album. This album spun off, I think, 5 or 6 hits. One of the things that makes it rare is it's from the Target CD era, which it's not a Target CD because it doesn't look like there's not lines. kind of. There's not lines going across here or here, which is called a target city. However, what makes this coming from that target era, that what they say there, is that it's made in Japan. Early press runs for CDs, printing plants were made in Japan and also in West Germany. And the reason for that is when CDs first came out, there weren't any pressing plants in the United States. So, or very few to keep up with the demand. So they were pressed there. So a lot of people swear that the original pressings are usually the best releases also. So they're more sought after. Also, it's guaranteed pretty much a first edition. So there's that also. But that surprised me. I did not think it'd go there for that much. But I have sold Target CDs, and they can be upwards of some good money too. So you're gonna look for stuff that's made in Japan, especially if it's an early release or made in West Germany. Look for that because that's another way you can also find some good value and some CDs if you can get them cheap. This one I have on here twice, and actually I have sold the CD twice before in the past. So this one you can come across in the wild for sure because I have done it. And I just took it off screen again. Good Lord. My Chemical Romance, I brought you my bullets, you brought me your love. Now, the thing that kind of surprises me about this one first, as you can see, I have talked about this person before. I am almost convinced that they are a drop shipper. Anyway, I'm not even going to bring it up right now. Stock photo, so that's another, not a dead giveaway, but from what I've seen with what this other person does with other stuff too, it's pretty close to a dead giveaway. Anyway, at least for this person. 126.95. I've sold mine for roughly about that price also. That was in similar condition. Lesser, obviously, if it's in lower condition, the lesser it's going to be worth. But this is one you can come across in a while. I have done it. I'll show you the next one also, which is the same thing, which actually has photos. And it's a 2-disc edition. So this is one you got to look out for. It's got 2 discs. And this is, again, the other, obviously, the other one's a stock photo. It doesn't show you, it doesn't even mention 2 discs. This version is a 2-disc that's worth a lot of money. So here's one with the actual photos taken. So this person actually had a physical copy of this. 2 discs, as you can see there in the upper corner. And you can see everything here. Just looks pretty solid. There's your first. There's the second disc. On the second disc, what is it? It's a bonus disc. It's got, looks like it's just got some other tracks by the band. But this does hold value. I've sold this before. You definitely can find this out in the wild. This is one that is obtainable for a low price. Definitely pick it up. You're going to make some good profit on it. And this one in good condition. Obviously, the better condition, the higher it's going to sell for. This one is extremely rare also. Wouldn't mind picking this up if I can find it cheap enough. I guarantee you I probably never will. However, it does not mean it's not impossible to come across this. But it is from a well-known band. Slipknot. Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat. This is the genuine 1996 release, not the reissue. The reissue obviously isn't worth a whole lot. If you can find the original release, they are worth a good ton of money. And this has, Slipknot is from Iowa, and this was sold from Iowa. So it might be more common in that region, obviously, from where the band's from. So you might be able to come across it out in the wild if you're located in that area. What does this guy have notes on for, though? Front side CD should have 2 rings. There should be a regular pattern of... So this guy's telling you why it's the original. IAPI number symbols that look circles. So he's talking about the IAPI number right here. It's kind of hard to see. But again, worth a lot of money if you can figure out, first of all, if it's 96 release, which may be harder to do. But anyway, again, another one to look out for. This is actually from a well-known man. Like I said, some well-known artists have some really rare stuff. There's Godsmack, for example. They have an early album release, album or EP was released before they're self-titled, and that's pretty rare. Stain has one also that's pretty rare. One of my favorite bands, Blackstone Cherry, also has one that's pretty rare. So the ones that were like self-released that have maybe like 10,000 copies, those are the stuff. Scarcity is what you're really looking for in this game, obviously. You can make money on the low-end stuff also. I do it all the time. or mid-range stuff, but you're looking for grails also. If you can find something that's going to get you a couple $100 in profit, or in this case, $1,000 plus after eBay fees, there's no rush like it. It's crazy. A couple more I'm going to show you. We're going to go back to the hip hop area here again. You're looking at 80s, 90s hip hop. You're looking for obscure titles, obscure artists, stuff you've never seen, heard. Try to avoid like the mix CDs. I mean, there's probably some value in some of those, but I mean, you're looking for straight just 90s hip hop, early 90s rap albums on obscure record labels. In this case, so obviously this is one that's just like that. Again, this is an artist I've never heard of. This is obviously a hip hop CD. As you can see, kind of there, the artwork and everything. Giving up the funk. It's got the parental advisory, which also helps. you don't want to sell a clean hip hop CD because that just kind of defeats the purpose. But let's see if we can find the record label on this, or at least where I can read the record label. We'll go to the back. Two Dope Records, 1994. So again, you look at those early 90s CDs. The other one I showed you was a 93 release. So I mean, hip hop was hot, gangster rap was hot back then, big time back in the day there. So a lot of these obscure record labels started signing my local talent, trying to hope one of them hit it big. And obviously, if they didn't, then obviously if someone was looking for their CD, they're gonna be paying a pretty penny for it. And this one ended up selling for $650 used. So again, you can do it. I found, like I said, I found an obscure rap CD. I paid $1 for it at a local pawn shop. Was it in the grayish shape? Sold to some guy in West Hollywood within 30 minutes of me listing it for over $300. So it can happen. This next one's pretty rare too. Let me get the tab there. Al Capone. I've actually heard of this one. The Resurrections, mega rare. It's gangster rap, obviously. Again, we're going with parental advisory on here also. It's actually a little different color, which is kind of cool. Again, just obscure. This is probably early 90s also. Yep, 95. So mid 90s in this case, technically. Brutal Records, again, another small record label. Might have been re-released on Priority. Priority Records has been around for a long time. They actually might still be around too. Yeah. Notice it's Brutal Records is the label, and then it's manufactured and distributed by Priority. So again, but you look mid 90s rap, early 90s rap, late 80s. I mean, you're looking at stuff, and you're looking at big dollars if you can come across some of the stuff out in the wild. That's $500 like new condition that thing sold for. I've got two more to show you from some well-known artists, but again, are obscure limited print run releases, or just obscure anyway, for that matter. And you look at this is like what true collectors would go for. So next to last, we are going to go Madonna Bad Girl promo CD single. It's a Hong Kong release. It's erotica and plus tapes. I've never seen this before. This is kind of cool though. If you actually look at the Hong Kong promotion copy, so get a promo. Makes it really rare. Obviously, this is something that's going to be really hard to come by. But again, these types of promo CDs, again, so me kind of going into that also, you'll see promos stamped. Sometimes you'll see a stamp on the front of the booklet. You'll also see it stamped on the CD sometimes. You'll see a hole punch through the UPC barcode, or a sticker covering it, or line through it. Numerous things, or notch in the corner in the spine. That kind of recognizes you, tells you it was a promo CD of some sort at one point. But again, this also kind of tells you too. That would be probably where the UPC barcode would be underneath there on this release. But again, this is where it's Madonna. Everybody knows who Madonna is. If you've listened to music in the last 40 years, she's been around. $400 sold for. Last but not least, I'm going to show you another one, Taylor Swift. This one's rare because it's the original 2006 release. Now, I say I've sold one similar to this, and I'll explain that in just a second. Let me pull it up here. Rare Taylor Swift self-titled debut. So the 2006 release is the self-titled is the rarest of the one. It was a reissue later, 2008, which that one's you can come across. I've come across a handful of times. Used copies, they go for a little bit. You might be able to squeeze $10 out of it. If you get it for $1, it's worth picking up. This is a sealed copy. I have found a sealed copy of her 2008 reissue. Now that one I sold for, what did I pay, $1.50 for it? I sold it for about $55-$60, brand new sealed. And I know why the guy bought it. And this is kind of I don't think it's going to take off like it does with comics, but this is kind of a fad that's been kind of going around, or VHS tapes even. Grading CDs. I mean, you can grade sealed DVDs too, but the guy, I looked to see who was buying it from me. You know, just never know the type of buyer sometimes, because there's a lot of scammers on eBay. So I just kind of looked, and the guy was a seller, and he was selling graded CDs. He'd send them off the game grade, which you got to pay a fee for, and he actually had another Taylor Swift up. He was selling for $2,000. I'm like, and I went and looked, and he hasn't sold anything, or maybe sold like one item. So I'm not going to do graded stuff like that unless it becomes really, really big. I'm not even going to mess with any of that, because you have to send it off and hope it gets there safely, and then come back, get it graded, and then hope you can try and find a buyer for it. Plus, you're paying $50-$60 to get it graded. So you better hope you have something that's worth some money to recoup that back on top of it. But anyway, so this is the 2006 release. I'm just rambling on here. It's got the hype sticker there, which adds the value also, obviously, especially on a sealed copy. As you can see, they took a picture of the top to show it was sealed. And you got a key in down here. See, it says 2006 Big Machine Records. Obviously, the 2008 is going to say 2006, and it's going to have 2008 after it. Another thing you can also kind of tell that number at the bottom there, it's kind of hard for me to point it out. It's kind of right here, BMR 120702. That's like the catalog number for it. You can look that up also on a website called Discogs, DISCOGS. That can help you kind of catalog, find out which version of stuff you actually have too. But this is the one that's worth a lot. This is the 2006. It's sealed on top of it all, sold for $400. So I figure I'm going to do this every so often, just kind of give you an idea of stuff, of why I do this. Kind of like just going for that next big score, that next big one that you can sell for, and what you find. I mean, the hunting for is what's really exhilarating about this business. And then you got to do the work to get it sold, which, yeah, but got to make the money somehow. But anyway, if you got anything out of this, I'd greatly consider subscribing to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. Click the like button, which helps me out, and then click the bell for future notifications of other videos just like this. And that is all. I will catch you guys all on the next one. Bye, everybody.